Good day, this is Graham Gordon Thomas here, and I am the rational environmentalist, asking people to consider the difference between a rational approach to environmentalism or an irrational, panicked one, which is sending people broke and creating disruption unnecessarily for society. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about coal. The reason I'd like to talk a little bit about coal because I know an awful lot about it, and there's a reason for that. For the first 15 years of my life I saw coal burn every day in the fireplaces in my parents' homes in the north of UK, and at 15 years old I started an apprenticeship with a place called Steelworks and learnt all about refractory engineering and masonry and how furnaces work, and basically that was all about the use of coal. Now, those people who say that there's no such thing as clean coal actually have no idea what they're talking about. Well, because there is such a thing as clean coal. It's called anthracite. Anthracite coal is a very hard and dry coal, and it has a lot less moisture content, burns at a high clear flame, has few fumes and less smoke, and leaves a clean ash. Now that is just a simple thing there, and if you design them, which I have worked on, things like scrubbers, precipitators and other means of designing flues and atmospheric pressures through the flue arrangement in furnaces, basically, and other ways, basically as they are doing in Japan and China and elsewhere, you can basically clean out all the particulates and the things that cause acid rain and things that cause interaction in the atmosphere to make it acidity, increase the acidity in the atmosphere, which is very damaging for lungs and health and everything like that. We all totally know and agree and totally utterly agree that coal used in inefficient furnaces is dirty, filthy, and I lived as a child in England. I was witness to the smogs caused by that. So I'm not an advocate for coal. I'm an advocate for common sense and logic and rational explanations, rather than telling children lies by politicians so they can rip off pensioners and welfare recipients, saying we're saving the planet or saving the climate is an excuse to destroy the economic existence for millions of people. It's a very, very poor excuse, because clean coal, that is coal that is burnt in highly efficient furnaces, the only thing that it emits is CO2. And then CO2 is not dirty. I'm looking at it right now. Anyone looking outside in the air, no matter where you are, can you see any CO2? No. CO2 is a colourless gas. It is carbon, one atom of carbon, two atoms of oxygen. Now, that's what it is. Carbon combines with oxygen in the combustion process, gives off into the environment, and the trees and all the plants and all the things consume it. And this is the thing. Without carbon, there is no energy. And that's without carbon dioxide, it is the most essential compound, if you like, other than water. Carbon dioxide and water are the two prerequisites to all other energies within organic life, including human life. So to say that CO2 is a pollution, it has to be the greatest load of claptrap and irrationality to put into children's minds, and it's totally irresponsible and irrational for politicians and media and celebrities and whoever is involved in this to tell children something that is totally untrue. It's alright telling children about Santa Claus and Easter Bunny and all that sort of stuff. That's all very well, but making something that's a scientific known into a fiction and fairy tale, that's going beyond the pale. And it's irresponsible to, and it's actually not just, it's more than irresponsible, it's abuse of authority to tell children something that's utterly untrue. Now, this is not about climate change itself, but it's about the lies about that people are prepared to tell for financial gain under the guise of we are saving the climate. Well, you can do a little bit of maths. Anyone in the world can do a bit of maths, or just have a look at the differences between here in Australia and China or Germany, and you can easily see that in Australia we use 1.5% or 1.3% of the whole of the emissions of CO2, and most of that's from cars, by the way, and so is everywhere else. Most of the pollution is from cars. The CO2 is from cars, not coal-fired power stations, by quite a large margin. I think compared with China, which is a massive percent, in Germany and other places, Australia has very little. So why Australians are carrying on about it is really odd and strange indeed. And it doesn't actually make any sense whatsoever. If you look at the whole thing in context, and honestly, instead of making it a sort of a fairy tale to scare children, so you can rob old people of the heat, so they can't sit around the house being warm. So you can see quite easily that CO2 is not a pollution. Coal can be dirty, but also coal can be as clean as wind if wind has been made through dirty and inefficient coal-fired power stations. Well, that's the thing, you see. Wind and solar that they could be buying could be made from extremely inefficient furnaces, making the electricity to make wind and solar. So we could be buying very, very dirty wind and solar panels in some ways, right? So we can see that the whole thing, because of the actual volume, it's easy to understand the volume of CO2 throughout the world over the next 20 years or 30 years. It's very, very simple to understand. It's understood very simply like this. 10% of 50 is less than 10% of 60, is less than 10% of 70, is less than 10% of 80. So you see, as the human population grows and needs more economic activity to grow its wealth, to maintain itself, to have the luxury that all the left and all the politicians enjoy, they don't want other people to have. Now they don't want other people to have it. For everyone to enjoy some sort of decent lifestyle, you have to grow the energy. And as yet, wind and solar, the more wind and solar you make, the more CO2 you produce, the more deficit you produce, etc., the more loss to the economy you have through those systems. There's nothing wrong with wind and solar. It's just how they're being applied and how the economics of it is applied that does not make any sense whatsoever. Because robbing the children of a reasonable future, or at the same time the politicians are trying to say we're trying to save the future for you, save the climate, and at the same time telling them things what are scientifically totally untrue, and we all know the evidence for that is fully understood by anyone who's done biology or botany, that plants consume CO2 and it's not a poison. If CO2 was a poison, all the plants would die. As simple as that. The more CO2 is into a percentage, the more plants flourish. So if the CO2 is this dirty pollution caused by coal, then all plants would die. So that's all there is to it, children. Anyone children listen to this, if CO2 was a pollution near coal-fired furnaces, then the plants would die. The only time plants die near those furnaces is when the furnace is inefficient, and then the particles and the compounds what come off it create acidic atmospheres. The acidic atmospheres damages plants and lungs, etc. So you can see, simple science. Worked all my life in coal, all my life, working life and child after a child, I was involved with coal. Anthracite is clean coal. There are dirtier coals, we all know that, but they all have their purposes because all the byproducts of them, human society. I'd like to see all the Greens, left politicians say, okay, we're going to do without all the byproducts that come from coal. When all of them, and it includes the money and the wealth they gain, when all of them deny themselves of that, then you can know the truth about coal, climate change and what they're doing about it. They're doing sweet F all about it, or nothing about it whatsoever. And all they're doing is telling children lies and basically making sure their future is a lot harder than it would have been regardless what the climate is. Thank you. This is Graham Gordon Thomas. I am the rational environmentalist. Thank you.